This'll work. All right, this one don't want to play. Of old man and all right, this motherfucker's heavy. Yes, couldn't think of the name of. Give the energy of the blue argonite out. So good evening. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Chocolate Mountain Show. I am your host, Big Pontiac. I'm also the holder of the Sacred Infinite Ball Game created by the Hero Twins. I'm also your Galactic Daddy-O, welcoming each and every one of you to my galactic patio. From Minnesota to the universe. And brother PJ Allen, what's happening? Just watched the game. Oh. Guess I better put the earplug in. Kind of forgot. Yeah, just got done watching the Blackhawks beat the Mighty Ducks. And then of course I watched the games earlier. The Timberwolves had the Suns. They blew like a 15-point lead and ended up losing. That didn't make a lot of sense. And watched I'm gonna say this. And if I didn't say this before, Harding having number one is almost looks like the Oscar Robertson deal. Oscar Robertson, when he played for Cincinnati Royals, he wore number 14. I think he wore number 14 in college at Cincinnati too. But when he went to the Bucks, he won number one. And they played in the Eastern Comp. They won it in 70. I think it was 70, 69, 70 season. I want to say Kareem's rookie year. Won it Kareem's rookie year, like what Magic did. And so that's what it made me think of. I watched the Grizzlies and Nets and the Lakers and Sixers. Yeah, I watched them games too. I was going back and forth between the Grizzlies games and the Timberwolves. Timberwolves game was a little later. It was a little, well, let me see. Yeah, the Timberwolves game came on a little later than the Nets Grizzlies games. And I saw Kyrie score 40, 43, which I called a Larry Brown. Larry Brown, you know, the football player Larry Brown wore 43. So yeah, I caught that one too. Now to mention it, but I was going back and forth between that one and watching the Timberwolves, because you know I watched the Timberwolves play, and then I just got done watching the hockey game, Anaheim and Chicago, and Chicago beat them 3-1. No, 3-2, and some dude was playing with another team, maybe the Bruins, and he had gotten to fight when he played with the Bruins, so I couldn't say if he was a goon or not, but tonight I hadn't seen any goons in a while score 2 goals. This cats that they showed fighting for another team or when he was on another team. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not drinking beer. I didn't drink like 3-4 beers, so I'm drinking water now. So pop them if you got them. Smoke them if you want them. I'm pretty smoked out. I'll tell you what I didn't know, though. LeBron and his load management. Yeah, it was definitely load management. I didn't realize he broke Karl Malone's record. And see, this is what they're gonna try to, and like they can't like people out of hand don't give Wilt his greatness. They can't take away LeBron's greatness if he breaks the records. They can't take that away from him. That is more longer tenured. You know, he didn't have that missing a season and a half like Jordan did. And we know Jordan was really suspended all that time. I mean, that's a given. But to be a more complete player than even Kobe, and never play. I mean, you have to look at Stockton as a big reason. Like Malone, like they manufactured each one of them. You know, the manufacturer Stockton and the manufacturer Malone. They're really like the same guy if you really look at it. Really, if you looked at what they did to Stockton and Malone, like I was saying about Oscar Robertson, it was the same thing over and over again. It was Wayne Embry and Oscar Robertson, same thing, Stockton and Malone. They gave them that same formula, except they did it a little higher up. That's the only, if you watch old Oscar and Wayne Embry, you know, Wayne Embry's son, I think, is a general manager of the Bucks. Or maybe Cleveland, I'm not sure. But Wayne Embry's, one of his family members is still in the game. Wayne Embry's fairly old, you know, he's retired. But same kind of game. Same kind of game. Don't know that Malone was as explosive. Like, you didn't really see Karl Malone breaking dudes down by himself a lot. He did what Barkley did, backed him in. You know, he was stronger than people. But Malone really wasn't quick or anything. He just could, very, very athletic in the sense he could run all day. Very, very athletic in that sense. And remember what Karl Malone did to Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah still got a big old scar right here where Karl just kind of and busted Isaiah. I don't know what, because I keep trying to go back and see what happened up to that point where he did that to Isaiah. And I can't really catch it on the film. But Daryl ended up being a coach, but Daryl clocked him. They cut the film off, but I saw the game, and not Daryl Mitchell, but Daryl Walker. I think that's his name. Darrell Walker. You catch it. If you follow it, they kind of cut it off. But if you've seen the film, pow, he catches Karl Malone square. And I don't know if Walker was playing or on Detroit's bench. Darrell Walker played with the Knicks. He played with the Knicks too. But he hit him square in the face. Like Malone did that to Isaiah. And you see Isaiah it just opened him up right here. It just opened like a boxer hitting you with leather glove. It just opened all that up. So. And of course, Stockton, undersized defender, pretty dirty player. If you go back and look at his film, pretty dirty player, very dirty player, and got just as many calls as Malone got. So did Stockton. Stockton got away with a lot of stuff, And notice he never got in any fights. A lot of dudes his size got in fights all the time. Never did, but he never backed down. I'll say that. He never backed down for being like my height and not a very good athlete. Like, what is the odds of a dude like that really making the team if it ain't somebody looking out for it? 6-footer, not very athletic, not very quick, not a great shooter, mid-range. What's the odds? I mean, for all a dude that was younger than him, I would say that Larry Jordan had more skills than John Stockton. Better athlete, better all-around game, quicker, could press. Mr. T Gaming, what's happening? Thank you for joining. So we see, how they pick these people to be these different characters. It ain't that they just was so tough and gritty that they made it. They had some kind of connection. And we see that all the time. There's always some type of connection. And not trying to be hateful. I'm just saying, look at the game and look at all the players. And I know all the players that's my generation. And Stockton wasn't one of the best. It was a cat played at Syracuse. Tony Red, what's his name? Tony Red Bruin went to Syracuse, but never really made. He was one of the top players in the country. I mean, you figure my generation was let me see, would have been trying to think of the big man. Sampson, yeah, I want to say Ralph Sampson's my age. Sam Bowie, Ralph Sampson, Isaiah Thomas. Them dudes was all my age. Checking in. Hey, Mr. Lamborghini Layblock. Thank you for joining. So those was all the cats. Clark Kellogg. Clark Kellogg was another one. I want to say Herb Williams was a year older than us, or a year younger, maybe a year older. Not sure. But maybe even Herb Williams. Forget. Another dude that went to Michigan. What was his name? Tim, big redhead dude. I can't think of his name. Master something. But he played at Michigan. He's about 6'11". He went to Detroit, Birmingham Brother Rice. Hey, ZZ, what's happening? Thank you for joining. Appreciate it. I was trying to think of Tim. I can't think of his name, but he ended up, because he was from Michigan, but he ended up from Brother Rice, but I'm pretty sure he played at Michigan. Little older than the judge. The judge is, what is it, Jabir? He was the first player of the year in Michigan. Joe Jabot. And this guy played, wow, he must have played until his 40s overseas. And I met him when he was a freshman. But yeah, the judge was his nickname. But I think he might have been 9th grade when I was a senior. But Tim Andre, that was his name, Tim Andre. Yeah, I don't know if Tim Andre made the league or not. but that was another cat that was my age. So you telling me out of all these great players that John Stockton just shined enough at Gonzaga and all the talent in California that they needed that type of guard? Well, small school at the time. I think it was still Division One. I think I don't think it's in the Pac-10. No, they whatever that other East Coast conference is. I think they like St. Mary's. They always been in that conference. Smaller, what they used to call mid majors, like Western Michigan mid major. PJ was he knows the school. Ball State, Kent State, Miami of Ohio. They called him all mid majors. Central Michigan, Eastern Michigan. All these Western Michigan, all these mid major schools that ain't won it. Ain't none of them mid majors won it since. I couldn't tell you when, if ever. I think Loyola of Chicago, mid-major, and Detroit Western, which was or Texas Western, which was Texas El Paso, I think, when they won it. They had the movie about it and shit. So, hey Jay, thank you for joining me. Very kind words tonight. Thank you for the greeting. Now, I thought I'd wear the Wild jersey before it gets too warm. And the funny shit about the real hockey jersey, and this one doesn't have a number on the back, but I showed before real hockey jerseys. I don't know if it'll show, but they got the part that clips into the pants. So I don't know if that'll show or not. I don't know if it'll show. Yeah, that's how you show if it's real or not. It's got the, even though this one doesn't have a number on the back, this is a real jersey, which I love. Hockley, they call them sweaters. What did you say? Is it true that Pfizer came out with a 9 pages of side effects the vaccine could give you? Yeah, it was something like 1,200 side effects. Yeah, something like 1,200 side effects. Yeah. Conspiracy University, what's happening? Yeah, they said they came out with 12,000, something like 1,200, 12,000, 1,200 side effects, which is a lot of side effects. I was looking at a thing. Facebook was putting a thing out there for people 60 plus to you could get about $1,400 if you are a guinea pig for some drug. Do you know how, like, I've got a cousin that almost does that as a profession. Pfizer is also in Kalamazoo, and I have a cousin that does that kind of shit all the time for extra money, because his whole life he never really, like today, just to tell you what his thinking is, he is like, I'm gonna wear my every hoodie for the next few days for Martin. And like, come on, that was a psyop. It wasn't nothing true about that story. Nothing sounded true about that story. That story sounded less true than the George Floyd shit. If you look at it, the George Floyd shit sound less true. So, but that's just where his thinking is. And I know he's went through that. So yeah, that can be hard on your body, because you don't know what's gonna happen to you. They don't know. They just you could just shit all over yourself, be just standing there perfectly calm and just shit all over yourself and be like, well, goddamn. And they'll write it down in the chart. Oh, we'll help you clean it up. So I don't think I'd go for that. I don't think I would go for that at all. So yeah, it's but that happens a lot in Kalamazoo. That's why I've told this story before. I am sure that the mescaline, LSD, some of the speed I was seeing in Kalamazoo, I'm pretty sure was made by probably younger dudes that worked. It was Upjohn. I've talked about Upjohn before. Upjohn, if any of you guys know what kaopectate is, they the ones that invented kaopectate. You get upset stomach or something, you take that shit. Well, that's who Pfizer, I'm sure, owns kaopectate now. And so there was also Upjohn always had them chemists and shit. And so you can imagine some of them chemists that was kind of hippie like, and again, access to all the stuff or know the stuff to order. I'm sure that the stuff I was seeing was made up there. I don't think it was coming very far. LG, what's happening? You was blazed. I saw the thumbnail and thought you was blazed for a second. Oh, okay. So I've said this before. I've known my brother was always thinking that the water in Kalamazoo, which was poisoned. The water is poisonous. I'll say that. The water was poisoned by the paper companies in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and nobody ever did anything about it. Killed a lake. The lake is still killed. And if you find, I mentioned this before, Sports Illustrated article from the 20s, like where it was just not, Sports Illustrated wasn't a whole paper at the time. It was just doing weekly articles called Sports Illustrated, like in Harper's Bazaar or some shit like that. And there was an article about how beautiful this lake was at one time, or this river. And so my brother theorizes that it could be the poisonous water. Even though you treat that water, you might not be able to get all the poisons out, because one thing that happens in Kalamazoo is, and I do link it to the acid too, is people would lose their minds. Hey, Nico, what's happening? Thank you for joining. And I've said my own personal experience. The dude was sitting behind me in class, and the dude said he saw my head literally blow up, and he was sitting behind me, and we had to like tackle him and stuff because he went crazy, like wah. And I saw him later. He's like, oh yeah. He was like, I was sitting behind you, and your head was like a balloon, and it just started blowing up, and it got so big it just exploded. And when your head exploded, it just tripped me out, because it was like I saw all the brain and stuff and everything. And so, yeah. They had All-Star game in Vegas, and so much crime happened that they are definitely never going back to Vegas for the All-Star game. That's why Vegas will never have an NBA team. That's interesting. That's interesting, because now they're trying to kill spring break down in Florida, even though people going to Mexico, people going to Arizona. So spring break, people have kind of went to different places. Like I first went to spring break, and I was a freshman. And as I said, I got recruited by Florida A&M as a freshman in high school. And so we went down because we end up going to Daytona while we was down there. It was spring break. So I was talking to grown ass girls, where they was in college women, but hanging out down there in Daytona in 76. 14 years old. I hadn't even turned 15 yet. 14, and I'm macking on grown ass women, having fun. The college, when I got to walk around campus, they called a girl in there, and she took me around, and she kept saying, "How old are you? You," because I was still tall as about I am now, but she was like, "How old are you? You don't seem 18." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not." No, they're getting one in the future. I think so too. I think they already got the football team, and they already got hockey. So it's just, they're going to blend it in there. And it's more attractive to play in the West where it don't get cold. I mean, you got to consider that as well. That's a attractive part of it, is people liking not to be in the cold. So yeah. So it wouldn't surprise me, but again, it's going to take steps. Now, will they ever get baseball? They already got the minor, or the summer league, or the spring ball. The spring ball, is always west in Florida. So don't know that they would ever get baseball. Wouldn't surprise me if they did, though. Vegas got an NFL team. They can get an NBA team. Yeah, absolutely. But the thing that the interesting part of the thing, I try to stay away from saying that shit. What to consider is that they're going to have to do it one step at a time. Again, who's going to build it? Are the new owners going to be financially secure enough to just come in there and build a stadium without needing help? Because I think with the hockey, they needed help. Mark Davis is one of the I don't know if he's one of the least cash available of all the owners. Now, in a few years, he's going to catch up after having a few seasons in Vegas, but right now he's not one of the richer owners. So if someone comes in and has all that and can just build all that without having to borrow, it would happen sooner than later. But if it's a person that needs, them to help, they've already, I don't even know if they paid, that football stadium's only been there a couple years now. So they probably haven't even paid that off with the bonds and stuff. So imagine if free agency was a thing in the early 90s. Barry Sanders wouldn't have had ended his career so early. Yeah. Well, it did exist, but remember, see, this is why I've never really felt bad for Barry Sanders. He re-signed up with him. Barry Sanders could have been a free agent. He re-signed with the Lions, though. I mean, it was free agency during Barry Sanders' life, but he re-signed up with the Lions. So that's the thing, that's what always I didn't understand. When he had a chance to be free of the Lions, he took the money. I mean, at the time, the contract he got was probably the biggest of all running backs when he re-signed with the Lions. But yeah, so he had a chance to be free of the Lions, and he re-signed with them. Local channel out there, they are getting an NBA just like the Oakland A's are moving out there in the next couple of years. Okay. I didn't know that. Yeah, because they won't build them a new stadium either. Oakland needs a new baseball stadium, and they won't build them a new stadium. So that makes sense. So yeah, it just takes time. It's the money that's behind it. If they don't need to borrow, so yeah, they'll have the team. I mean, that's kind of like the mecca of betting. So of course, the mecca of betting gonna have sports in it. And now, as all the kiosks are starting to be legal in different states, I mean, it's pretty much legal to bet online now. And so most of the stadiums, I think, coming up next football season, the ones that don't have it are going to have the kiosks where you can bet in the games. They're already talking about Mystic Lake over here. Mystic Lake over here is about to set up a service with just a straight sporting service. Now in Michigan, it was in Jackson where they did the Trotters, but they had where you could watch the games. Now, I don't know, wasn't legal to bet, but they had the horse races and they had the games and they were showing the odds. So. I wouldn't blame the A's if they move because they want to play in a prison like Oakland. Yeah, that's a good point. It ain't Oakland like it was in the 70s. It's a whole different Oakland. My cat is up to some mischief. I have a belt or a shoe like Pootie Tang, Now, it wouldn't surprise me though, but it's the money behind it. It's the money behind it, and how soon the money behind it can break dirt, and then getting all the what do you call it? Getting all the rights, to build the permits. That's the word I'm looking for. But getting all the permits and shit, getting all that together. So yeah, they'd get that. What is it? What's the? Oh, B Brown. I'm sorry, I didn't see that. What's up? Duke gonna handle their business tomorrow? I think so. What's up, B Brown? Yeah, I think Duke is gonna win tomorrow. I looked at all the handicapping earlier. I wrote it somewhere. I didn't write it in this book. I wrote it in another book. All the over and unders. It was ESPN that went over all that earlier. I don't know if it was ESPN or the Wager Show, one of them, but I was looking at all that. See where they was putting everything. Excuse me. Haven't stayed up late in a minute. I've been getting some good rest lately. And I want to say this is like sometimes you have to try things that are like probing situations. Like a part of war is you'll send a couple men out or you'll send part of your force out to probe. You ain't really trying to break through. You just kind of want to engage to see what you get, you know, like they say, getting a bite. And so I had that experience lately. So it's surprising like what you can get done. Money can get things done. It's interesting how if you know how to ask the right questions, things that people think are impossible to do, you can do. And they make you think that you can't do them, but there's certain things that if you just really know the verbiage and you put the verbiage to a situation and say, this is what I need, they pretty much got to give it to you. I mean, it's just interesting. Or they have to give the information. And so I just had one of those where they just had to give me the information. Did I read this? Oh yeah. And so I had one of those probing situations where I just wanted to know the answer. And I was like, okay, so this is doable. So that's kind of a small win that you know something is possible. And so, and you show other people that it's possible too. That's a good, sometimes that's a good exercise to do. Just to, even though you don't necessarily get what you want, sometimes you can see if it's possible. So you don't always have to go in there with any expectations. Sometimes if you go in things without any expectations, just to probe it, just to see if it's possible, sometimes it can happen. You know, sometimes the information is worth it. I mean, you may not have gotten the benefit of what you were trying to do, but the information you got from the trying is sometimes worth it. And that's what I just went through. I was like, let's see how this plays out. And I was like, okay. And I'm getting all these calls back. And I'm like, so this works. And so sometimes as men, we're scared to take chances because we don't think we can do things. And as I just said, sometimes it's just worth getting the information. And so, what do they say? Action takes away fear. Because fear freezes you, but action can take away fear. Lorenzo, thank you for joining. Yeah, I watched that game. It was a pretty good game. I was disappointed that but I didn't understand why Cat didn't guard Ayton and they had Vanderbilt on him. And Vanderbilt is like I mean, that just didn't make sense why they didn't go at each other. I mean, he was guarding Cat, but when they switched, but yeah, what is the name? Number 99 that made the shot of 99. Yeah, they was kind of going at it. Yeah, it was a decent game. It was a decent game. I was just disappointed they didn't win because they had them. And then they gave it up. As I was telling PJ, I was going back and forth between games. I was watching the Nets play, and then I would go back to watch. I would turn back and then watch the Timberwolves play because they show all the Timberwolves games on television. Like there's only one instance where they even changed the announcers. The Timberwolves got, I think, one national televised game, and they changed the announcers to the TNT or TBS announcers. But usually it's Peterson that's from here. He went to St. Louis Park, played with University of Minnesota, Randy Brewer, and played with Houston. I don't think Peterson was. He played in 2 finals, but I think he lost both of them. He lost the finals. I want to say, let's see, he's my age or a year younger. So maybe he didn't lose the 79, 80, 81 championship with Boston beat Houston. I don't think he was on that team. I think he was on the team. Yeah, he was on the team with Ralph Sampson and Olajuwon. Peterson was on that team that lost also to Boston. He was on that team. And I want to say he played with, but he's an announcer anyway. He played with a couple of NBA teams. Whoops. Why do players take a night off but are jumping up and down on the sidelines? Yeah, but so was what's his name for Memphis? He was doing the same shit. He was doing the same shit. And what's happening, Nico? Thank you. Ja was doing that same shit. Ja was all bouncing on his legs. Yeah, he was doing the same shit. You think Kyrie playing home games going to matter, or are they going to eventually shame him for getting the jab early exit? They're gonna let him play. They just passed the law. He get to play tomorrow. I think the law goes into effect tomorrow. He gets to play. Him and the baseball players. Yeah, or hockey players. Yeah, I think it affects hockey too. Well, yeah, New Jersey Devils. Nope, New Jersey's New Jersey. But yeah, the Islanders was affected by it too. So they're gonna let him play. He gets to play the rest of the home games. It's only like 18, 19 games left, something like that. 16, maybe even less than that, like 16, 18, somewhere in there. But yeah, so he gets to play. They finally gave in. But I don't know if people caught this. The rookie that plays for Mallory maybe as his name is, the rookie that plays for Philadelphia. You know, they said that his house caught on fire and all his family got out. And it made me think about this, and maybe PJ remembers this because it was in Indianapolis. So Reggie Miller built this big house outside of Indianapolis, and some of them Europeans burned the house down. I don't know if people remember that. Brand new, it was just finished. He was about to move in, and some Europeans set his house on fire. And I don't know if he ever moved in that house or not, but some people, same thing happened to Chris Jackson down in Mississippi. He built a house and a mosque, and I think they burned both of them down, the mosque and the house. So, but yeah, the cat. So cat banged on Crowder. Yeah, he did. That was a nice one where he did. He banged a nice one on him. Hey Gray, what's happening? So they only lifted it because of the Yankee players. But I know some hockey players, but yeah, it's going to be a lot more home baseball games too, comparatively. It's going to be what, 80 home baseball games compared to, the home basketball games. But yeah, that's part of it too. Yep, I agree for the Yankees. So weird. They ended up ban on Kyrie's 30th birthday, 3/3/23. That's a good point. That's a good catch. Yeah, PJ said he remembered that. Yeah, they burned his house down. So I wonder, when you see rituals like this, like a pro player's house catching on fire, you also got to kind of consider it. You've got to kind of consider it as ritual too. And so take the house instead of some of the family is what I say. I mean, to me, that's a better option than taking the family. Is taking, take the house. I would gladly give up the house than taking a family member. So, yeah, Chris Jackson. Let's see. Chris Jackson's from the same place my mom was born in. He was from Gulfport. Yeah, I remember he was a Mississippi cat. I remember that. I can still remember because that class, Alonzo Mourning was player of the year in that class. Yep. Any thoughts on Tyreek Hill trade to the Dolphins? We talked a little bit about that earlier when I came on this afternoon. I still don't understand. I think whoever put the comment, I think Lobo put the comment in saying that, they trying to take some of the skill away from them to make them even with everybody else. So, dumbing them down, taking some of that talent away because, again, no one matches with him. He is a hard one-on-one matchup. So yeah, that didn't make a lot of sense. Not terrible, not any major injuries, nicked up, but not any major injuries. So yeah, I think that it is really to take a weapon away from him and to see the team going in somewhat decline. However, and a line that was already struggling. They did bring another lineman in for Kansas City, I saw, but they lost the lineman too. So, and that line wasn't that great last year. So I don't know who. I can't remember what team got a lineman from Kansas City, but they lost another lineman, a line that was already weak. So I think somebody has said, doesn't Rodgers feel stupid because, Adams was their one. It was a one ticket, one pony, one trick pony up in Green Bay. But Rodgers going to get paid. I think Tariq is cooked now. Tua ain't got Mahomes' arm. They do have a good offense mind as a head coach. And a lot of times, just getting him in one-on-one isolation plays is really where he's going to be best at. When you isolate him, it's hard to guard in the slot. And in certain formations, you got safeties on you. So he's still going to have a decent career. Chiefs beat is Smith-Schuster's best receiver is Smith-Schuster, and he ain't running by nobody. He is not running by anybody. So they thinking they're going to get a good play. And they trade guys like modern-day slaves. Well, I guess a part of slavery. But everybody, that's always been a part of sport is, owners having your rights. You see, Watson had no trade. Watson had a no trade in his contract. They couldn't trade him. You see Kendrick Perkins 30-minute segment on ESPN titled "Our International Players Taking Over the NBA." No, I didn't see that. I have to thank you for sharing that, researcher. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for sharing that. No, I did not see that. I would have liked to seen that. Tua has a noodle arm. Well, yeah, I don't think that injury helped him any because you need a strong arm. You need strong legs to be able to throw. You really need to be able to, settle yourself, and I don't see that. Stacy, thank you for joining. So I think his legs has been his biggest problem, is he really doesn't have strong legs under him. So I think that's something that he's had to contend with. But I think, teams do that. They dumb down, they take away the talent. Again, it's early in the season, so they could bring in other people. I mean, you've got the trade deadline. The trade deadline. So they've got some time to make different moves. I don't know what receiver they're going to get. Mel Kiper Jr. was trying to show who they could get at 29. There was some couple decent receivers. I think it was the wide receiver at Georgia. He was saying would be a good fit in that spot. So we'll see. But yeah, Schuster's their number one, which Hill was saying. That's the thing. But as I said before, he was already extended. I'm pretty sure I'm not wrong about this, that they had extended him already. So that's why I didn't understand why he got extended by Miami, because I'm pretty sure he had got extended already. Now, if I misspoke, somebody correct me, but I thought he had got extended already. The best is Kelsey, with Kelsey the tight end. But like I said, Kelsey's taken a lot of hits. Kelsey has taken a lot of hits. Playing tight end, a lot of contact. Pickens from Georgia. Yeah, I saw. Okay, Pickens. Yeah, that's what Kiper was saying. The Georgia receiver, Pickens. Okay, thank you for adding that. But I mean, does anybody remember that Hill already got extended? I don't think that. Someone said earlier on the shows, ESPN, that they didn't want to pay him, but I thought they had paid him already. I'm pretty sure they had paid him. So maybe I'm wrong. But he got 72 out of that 100 and whatever he got. He got 72. He's the top receiver, top paid receiver, and he got 70 some guaranteed, which is great. It's great that finally and it shows you, football is the highest revenue of all sports, but it has the worst union. And finally, finally they're getting the guaranteed money that they deserve. Because too often you like football used to love to show the big contracts, but they was never guaranteed. So the moment you get cut, you get hurt, you get cut. That's it. Not in basketball, not in baseball. I mean, how many baseball has the best contracts. The only problem is they screw baseball players around till they get 27, 28 a lot of times. That's why, like Freeman is what, 30, 31 getting his money now? And then a lot of people bitch on, when these dudes get these monster contracts, but that's kind of the way they screw them around in baseball. They have a thing that if you're not on the active roster sometime in September, they have another year option on you. Your option year continues just because you weren't on the opening day roster. And that's how they would screw players. They would screw players, and then they'd have, pushing you older and older and older. It's like you would play, it was like you weren't on the opening day roster, but you played the rest of the season up. And it just gave them an option year for them. Yeah, the 6 years of control is whack, but their contracts are better. Yeah, way better, way better. Baseball player get hurt, so what? I mean, you got to be literally fired from baseball not to get your money. And that's very rare. You very rarely hear about a baseball player that didn't get his money. I mean, you can look back in the sport. And I mean, look at the baseball player now that's getting all that money, Bobby Bonilla. He signed such a brilliant contract where he gonna get paid for the next 10 more years. He's turning something like 5 to 7 million into like 20 to 25 million. So brilliant contract. I would say he under the dude who owned the Kentucky Cardinals and the dude who owned the St. Louis Spirits, he's probably right up there of a person that didn't have to really do anything but renegotiate his money. And look what it turned into. Look what it turned into. The Cubs got an extra year off Chris Bryant because they wanted two weeks to call him up. I think they changed the rule in the new the new bargaining agreement. Yep, the new bargaining agreement. But they did other players like that too. That wasn't new with just him. But yeah, that's probably the most recent one. But they did other guys like that as well, where dude play almost the whole season up. But that period of when the season start, they send him down just so they'd have another option year. So that's bogus as hell. But this is what they do. And so, and you have a lot of South American players that don't make it up. I mean, there's a lot of them that are kept in them leagues, and the pay's better. Minor league pay is a lot better than what it used to be, where you can make a career out of playing in the minor leagues. Do you guys remember this cat? This cat was the overall #1 pick from the Yankees. I want to say his name was Taylor, and he's from down there. Let me see. Where are my old partners from in South Carolina? I want to say he was from around Union, South Carolina, but I think his name was Brian Taylor. Was the pitcher. He got in a fight in the club, and somebody stabbed him, I think, in his rotator cuff. And he was the first minor league player to get $1 million bonus. And maybe Taylor was the wrong last name, but he was going to be a pitcher for the Yankees. And he got the $1 million bonus, but he got stabbed in the club and never played pro baseball. Got to keep his bonus, but ruined his career. You get 600,000. Bobby Bonilla, watch it though. I thought the contract was brilliant on his end. Yeah, absolutely. It was like he played a deferment game. And that used to be a big thing. ABA is one of the ones that brought the deferred contracts in, because ABA couldn't really pay. So what the ABA would do is say, well, we'll pay you in deferment. So it sounded good that, they bringing in these dudes, and these dudes, they could report they make this big money. But in reality, these dudes, some of them's probably like Bobby Bonilla, still getting paid if the entity still exists, because if the entity dies, your payments die. So if the business is supposed to pay you doesn't exist, then you don't get paid. Hey, Crazy Sarge, what is happening? Whoa. Water.
This only one?
Yeah.
Bro, you don't need it, right?
Pour you some.
I'll give you $1.
I've got some in that jug.
Do I have it?
You can have it.
Oh, good
I'll
luck.
get some more. Good to see you, Crazy Sarge. Yeah, my son just hijacked my water, and he ate my little chips I had left. I had the munchies and just knew I was going to eat them. But it's okay. I got enough water. As I said, I broke my other glass bottle with my shungite in it. Kind of disappointed on that. Just dropped my bag, and dude was like, "Hey, your bag's leaking." I'm like, "Oh no, my glass bottle broke, so I got to get another bottle." I've been thinking about ordering like got stole out of my truck, just like a copper thermos. A little more expensive now than the one that got stolen out my car, but that's what I think I'm gonna do. Get a new one, and they're a little more durable. Just keep it clean. Like this glass, it ain't hard to keep the copper clean. Not much happening here. Talking to my family about doing plans for homesteading. Oh, okay. I just got invited to Wilmington in May. One of my college teammates called me up, and one of our other teammates is getting a beach house, renting a beach house in Wilmington, right on the ocean, and in May. So if we're not going to any tournaments or anything, I'm probably going to go. He says he's going to drive from Michigan because he has a friend that he's going to go after he kicks it. We're going to kick it for about 3-4 days, whatever, and then he's going to drive down to South Carolina and kick it down there. But yeah, he's one of my teammates. He was on my intramural team too. He's a big guy. He weighed about 300 pounds. Now he's about 6'4", 6'5". It's like, but he's a retired fireman. He was a fireman in Detroit. Yep. Interesting way that he made it to my college. Went to Michigan State. From Michigan State, went out to California and played in the junior college. One of a person that went to his high school ended up going to A&T on our head coach's staff, and that's what recruited him down there. And what I admire he did that I didn't do, and even though I was down there for 7 years, I should have finished school. Instead of as my ex went to school, I should have kept going to school. Instead of working, I should have done both. I should have did both. But I was kind of fed up with school at the time. That's going to be dope. I missed the Atlantic. We got a guy down there, Roni. Roni is mixed martial artist. He's down there. His mother's family is from there. She's a nurse, and he's going to college, and he's training mixed martial arts, and they live in Wilmington. Yeah. He was here when when the young man passed in August. Roni flew up here, stayed in my garage a couple of days. I guess my garage is cheaper than the hotel. But one of the group of the boys. So, but yeah, he's down there too. So, yeah. Oh, down where in Jacksonville, that was probably one of the funnest times. That crib we stayed in. Yeah, that was nice. Like, I mean, literally, that house on Jacksonville. I wonder how much that cost today, because it was a 5-bedroom house. It was like their summer home. No, it was a 5-bedroom house right on the ocean in Jacksonville. The only complaint is where their beach was, they laid a rocky bottom. And I mean, it was like rock. Like, it just wasn't comfortable. Whoever laid it, it was like kind of stupid because the rock was kind of, wasn't comfortable to jump up and down on. But good seafood. I'll say that. Real good seafood. 92 ain't the NBA best draft class, but I'll say He had the best class for centers. Top two were Shaq and Alonzo Mourning. I wonder what was 92 was when Chris Jackson came out, or Rock Mile, whatever his name is. I'm sorry, no disrespect. But did he come out or did he come out earlier? I know they all graduated from high school at the same time. Oh, excuse me. But did he come out earlier? I couldn't remember if Chris had came out before Shaq came out. Mornings, but Shaq came out. Yeah, Mourning was a little older than Shaq, wasn't he? Because Shaq only played, 2 years down there? Freshman and sophomore year? I think Shaq went in after his sophomore year. But Shaq played with Chris Jackson when Chris Jackson was down there. The 96 draft, too. I think we can all agree. What was it? The draft that we had that Len Bias was in was probably the worst. Another young man that I knew, Chris Washburn. Do y'all remember Chris Washburn? Went to North Carolina State. Almost through his college career because he had sold a dude, a front of the dude, some weed, and the dude didn't pay him. So he broke in the dude's room and stole his stereo equipment and damn near got put out of college for stealing because, he couldn't say that the dude owed me money for selling weed. But he was in that draft class that Len Bias was in. Chris Washburn, remember 7-footer? He was from he's from like in the mountains. I got a friend that trains NASCAR pit crews. Yeah, he was the first dude who started training NASCAR pit crews, and they're from that same little town. Philip Horton, I think is his name. Or Preston, yeah, Horton, I think is his name. But he trains, you can find him on my Facebook. He was a trainer at A&T and later at Michigan State. And he's the first dude to train. And he has a school where he just trains brothers and sisters for pit crew. So, but yeah, Washburn ended up playing with, he ended up playing with Golden State. And he washed out the league at 7 foot, 6'11", 7 foot. I remember, I was trying to think, was Don Nelson his coach? Was Nelson there in 86? I can't remember. But I remember the coach talking about, you want to wear the gold? You want to drive the nice car? But he was the top pick. But there's a 30 for 30 of all those picks, or they just did a documentary, after Lynn died, and they just showed the careers of what happened to everybody. I'm not sure of the one who did pass through that class. But it's just funny what happened to Chris. I mean, in college, where he almost got put out of college, again, trying to hustle, and then somebody don't pay him, and you do gangster shit. But college campus ain't really there's certain college campuses you can do gangster shit, and there's certain ones you can't. And so the thing wasn't for his big 7-foot ass to go into the room. You get somebody else to do it. It's too obvious for you. When you're that big, you're not going to sneak too many places without getting caught. You try to go sneak in a girl's room other than being tall enough to get into the window. But it's hard to be sneaky at that size. Let me see. Was out before Shaq. He came out in 90. Okay, he came out in 90. I want to say came out, yeah. Before Shaq, yeah. But I think they played together. Pretty sure they played when I thought Chris was or Rockmone. I thought he was a junior. I thought he was maybe a junior when Shaq was there. I thought, because wasn't Shaq there with Stanley Roberts? Wasn't Stanley Roberts there? And I thought Stanley Roberts played a couple years with Chris too. Nothing beat old Jameis Winston. When he jumped on the table. Oh yeah, he took some pussy and got off. And then I remember it was some bullshit people was doing and yelling some shit. and there was some profanity. There was the joke of the day. He did that shit with a group of people. He couldn't help himself. He must be, ADD, ADHD, where he had saw that shit on TV, and so he was around a group of people, and he just jumped up and just blurted out some profanity and shit, and they suspended him for that shit. But he was lucky he didn't go to prison over that shit. Jameis was lucky he didn't go to prison. Let's see. Draft class, most depth, but in 84 didn't have the biggest depth, but the biggest names. In 84, yeah. Shaq and Stanley Roberts were together, I believe. Yeah, they were together for a minute. And the bullshit with the crab legs, yeah. Yep. The petty stealing, which made no sense. If you get caught petty stealing, you was probably stealing already, and you just got caught with that. I remember some of my teammates, as I said, I don't know how my homeboy had a scam where we was able to use the phone for free for a year. I mean, I called my girl, and that was back when, the bills go giant. I don't know who paid for this shit, but I called her damn near every night for a year from North Carolina. So I'm calling from coast to coast, and the shit was astronomical. I mean, back then, the way they used to stick it to you over long distance, when it was really didn't cost them any more to operate the system. Then my mother worked for the old phone companies where they had the long distance and they stick the wire, and it didn't cost them any more. It was all the same. And that's the best thing that happens for cell phones. The cell phone showed that long distance charging you more was a lie. And that's why they beg people when you get cable to take these landlines. And you know that your cable is probably not out of a satellite, despite what they say. It's probably not out of a satellite. See, this is the big jug I gotta pour my water. This would be about a year on Father's Day. That's from my daughter. Oh. See, how long have I been chopping? Oh, I've been an hour? Wow. I didn't even think it was that long. And right in the pussy, if it was irrelevant catchphrase at that time. Fuck right in the pussy. Yeah. Yep, fuck right in. Yeah, that was a little catchphrase. Yep. Like with the LeBron commercial with old LeBron and young LeBron, he's like, oh, that's crunk. Y'all crunk in the future. Remember that was old saying, But it is funny how the language changes. The language changes with the times. Yeah, I did forget about that. But yeah, it's just the decisions young men make. Yeah, in college, I never really got in any trouble. The most trouble I got in is I used to have I couldn't roll joints. And so I always had a roller. But what I started getting the habit of was putting filters on the rollers. I rolled the joints with filters on them. And so one of the coaches came in and he caught the filters. And the filters did smell like weed, but they wasn't roaches, they was just filters. And he caught that. And I remember the head coach got mad at me. And then one of the younger players that I wouldn't give him credit for some weed. He told on me. He was like, I think so-and-so. So coach had, before the coach took a new job, I remember last time he talked to me, he was like, if I hear anything more about you and weed, I'm going to send you back to Michigan. Well, he took off before I took off. And then he asked me, he wanted to see if I wanted to come. He went to Prairie View, Texas Prairie View. And one thing I didn't know is they didn't do scholarships. But a lot of ways to get around scholarships was you could get the grants. Because one thing I know for sure is I had never applied for a grant because we was all on scholarship. Well, what I found, what the coaches did is the coaches was signing grants in our freaking names and they was keeping the money. Now, I don't know how he was there 6-7 years. And imagine, I don't know when they learned to do this, but I know they did it. And then I think my last quarter, we got the statements and we got the money. And the coaches like they asked us, but we was able to some kind of way, me and 3 or 4 other players, we were able to get, even though we was on scholarship, we got that money that they had been getting. We kind of went around them. But Winston's situation was like Watson's now. There was nothing but money grab. He got framed twice and wasn't charged each time. Oh, good point. Good point. Because that's a slippery slope. It really is. It's a slippery slope. I've said this before, and I kind of joke about it, but like this girl admitted, like she admitted, and it was a young girl, and it was hard for me not to laugh because the shit was kind of funny. But this young girl admitted. Now, what did she admit? She admitted she sucked these 2 dudes' dick in a porta potty. And so this is what she told us. We didn't ask her. She told us because we like, well, did you have any relationships with him before? And she was like, yeah, him and him. I sucked both their dicks in the porta potty. But then she said that the dude was like supposed to get 10 pumps on her. And she's like, well, he took about 200 pumps. And, I didn't want to laugh, but the shit was like, it was kind of funny. She's like, well, he agreed to get, so I guess she was sitting there counting 1 pump, 2 pump, 3 pumps. And then she was like, well, next thing I know, I was up to about 50 and he wouldn't quit. It's like, okay, that shit was funny. It was funny. So we really didn't know what to do with that thing. It's like you agreed to let him, you agreed to have sex with him, but I just think there might have been a misinterpretation on how long the sex could last. She thought it was going to be a short ride. It ended up being a long ride. Second time, got paid off about, but had to pay to a lawyer. Once she got paid off, she disappeared. The second time she got paid about, the lawyer gave it to her with no Vaseline. Man. I remember the police came and got me and my boy for going in one of those girls' dorms at Central State. Messed me all the way up. I cussed out like my first couple years on campus, we had our own motherfucking dorms. And hey, Infinite Consciousness, thank you for joining. And I cussed the dude out. I told him to get the fuck out of my room because I had my future wife in the room, and they made me apologize to him. He was the dude my wife knew. I didn't know who the fuck he was. I didn't know who he was. I like, get the fuck out of my face. Because we went, my first 2 years of campus, we had no dorm person. It was like one of the coaches, but he was macking on chicks too. So it was like, yeah, not that big a deal. She got glory hole. She definitely did. But this shit was funny. It was just funny. And I told the other one where this dude, and this shit was like, it was a handicapped person, and the handicapped person had to go to court. So he got a guy, it's a small little village. Guy took him to court. And before he went into the court, he had to go to the bathroom. So he told the guy, he's like, well, I'll meet you in the courthouse. I got to use the bathroom. So he went in to pee into a stall and said he went in to pee. And then the dude who gave him a ride there was end up in the stall. And the dude dropped down on his knees on the handicapped dude and started sucking his shit. And just the way he was like, William, why you do that? And I made the shit that shit was funny. Just he's like, William, why you do that? So I had to write a warrant and go get that motherfucker. But that was kind of funny too. The cop had the nerve to have a Jerry curl in the late 90s. I was flaming his ass all the way to the car. I said the department was wrong for letting you wear that bullshit on your head. That is clever. we had a dude named they called Slewfoot, and now when I was in high school, Western Michigan didn't have cops. When I went to A&T, they had cops with guns. I mean, they had like Magnums or 38s, whatever they had. But there was one dude named Slewfoot. Is one cop, they called him Slewfoot, and he was straight up. I mean, straight up like like a penguin. This shit was straight like a penguin. He like it. He was so slew-footed, like if he was walking towards you, it's almost like he was like mummy pimping when he walked towards you. Cause I don't know you'd have to see it, but it's like almost like he dragged a foot behind him or something. He was so slew-foot, but that's what they called him. And so he would always try to chase people, and people always got away from him, of course, because he really couldn't run. But it was like, oh, and the running joke was, oh, Slewfoot must have been the one chasing you. So yeah. But yeah, that was the only time I really had issues was cussing that dorm dude out. Yeah, that was the only time. And then like where we had to wash our clothes was like they was torturing motherfuckers down there. It was like the Inquisition and shit. It was like the rack was down there. It was like in the bellows of this 6-7 story building, or maybe 4 stories, maybe 5 stories. But it was like in the basement, and it looked like it was people living down there. It's like you had to literally stay down there for hours to get your turn to wash clothes. There was so many people competing. Where when it was just football players, I had a room right next to it. So it was like for 2 years, I was able to wash my shit easy because it was like I knew when it was working, when it wasn't. If I had to stay up late, whatever. So when I went home one year and all this dirty shit, they was like, "You never washed your clothes?" I was like, "It was rough." I keep a couple outfits. It's like limited anybody, and it was nice. The weather was nice anyway, so just wear shorts and stuff. So, but yeah, I was trifling for a minute there in school. I remember my dad saw those dirty clothes. He laughed because my stepmother's like, "You got any dirty clothes?" And here's this big giant bag. And my dad just kind of laughed. He was like, "Yeah, that's some shit I did in college." Cool thing is I don't have anything. Well, I'll go to chiropractor tomorrow, and I don't know if I'm gonna have time to get acupuncture. Might. It's gonna be kind of, this depends. Because around the same time, I have to go pick up my daughter. Weather's supposed to be funky again tomorrow, so we won't be walking. I like getting up in the morning walking. I don't mind. It's a nice little walk. But snowing this goddamn morning. I don't think it's supposed to snow tomorrow. So just in the 40s. So it's kind of chilly. I've got the heat on somewhat. It's like I keep going in my room, and my room is cold as shit. And it's like my heat is so fucked up. If I turn on a little bit, it's like it turns into from being cold to being a sauna. So there's no middle ground in there. So it's either cold or sauna. So no middle ground. It's electric heat too, which is in some ways not as dry as gas. Gas tends to be a little more drier. But yeah, so, but I didn't even get a chance to meditate today, so really wasn't able to get deep inside myself. But I had some good meditations yesterday, and that's the thing. It's like spirituality should come at your own pace. Like you should never feel guilty if you don't pray. You can't think that's karma. If you don't pray or you don't meditate, you can't think, well, if something happens, it's karma is why it happened. No. It's like you're not glued into it like that. You practice it at your own pace. So don't ever feel if you missed a day that you're going to get penalized. It don't work like that. He's holding like hair with no edges. It's funny. As I said, my partner Lou was the funniest one with the Jerry curl just in the back. He was bald, but he had Jerry curled the shit in the back, and it literally looked like a shower curtain. You know how shower curtains, I mean, he had like, it was like it was like he Jerry curled the individual hairs because it like really hung down like he was just had hair in the back. Like he didn't even have he like the Snoop Dogg, Stevie Wonder. He didn't have hair up here. It was just in the back, and it was like in the middle of the back. And then he had like individual Jerry curl hanging down. Like he conditioned that, and long as I knew him, he had it like that. He never had hair, but he always had the Jerry curl in the back. I never understood that. Couldn't let go of his hip hop. He pissed you off. That's funny. But yeah, that was my guy. Lou. Me and Lou won a 3-on-3 tournament with just me and him and 2 other dudes. We ended up beating him. I think we still end up getting 3rd place in the Macker. So that means we still got a plaque and shit. Got 3rd place with 2 people. Because my boy tore his Achilles. It was a crazy story. I mean, really was a crazy day. We went undefeated the first day at the Macker. And then the next morning, I'm looking for like my friend T. T's mother and sister were going to St. Louis and got into a near fatal crash. Matter of fact, T, when he got the call, because shit, from Michigan down to St. Louis was about 6 hours. Maybe I'm wrong. Trying to remember how, trying to think how, Kissimmee, Illinois. Kokomo. Trying to think from Kokomo, and then so I'm trying to remember how long that is. But anyway, it was drivable. And when he got down there, he got to see his mother before she died. So his mother, he lost that weekend. He lost his mother and his sister. And then we play LC tears his Achilles. So we already down T, because T had to go see, his people before they passed. And then LC tears his Achilles. And so we had to play a game. We played 2 games. The second team we played was smarter. They were smarter. They just passed the ball around. We couldn't guard everybody. They were smarter. But the one team wasn't that smart. Plus, they couldn't check me. So, But yeah, I didn't really get in a whole bunch of trouble. Like my friends would get in trouble. Like one time, they saw a dude delivering beer, and then the dude didn't lock how the gate for the beer truck. He didn't lock the gate for the beer truck, and so a bunch of my friends went in there and bum rushed the truck and took a bunch of beer out. Somebody told, but I end up oh, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Alchemist. Thank you for joining. So I went through school pretty unscathed. I sold weed the whole time I was in college. I mean, I never saw one person busted in college for selling weed. Not one person. That came later when people started fucking with Kane when I was out of college, but didn't see one person busted for weed when I was in college. Not one. So it's almost like it was legal. Almost like, at least that's why I felt. I never saw, the only time I said it is as a group of my teammates got busted for you making some phone calls. So some shit I did and got away with, they asses got caught. And I remember my one teammate, they arrested his ass in his football uniform and everything. They had to call his parents down from Atlanta. Yeah, and they arrested his ass. The feds got his ass. And they was making phone calls, and I don't know how they was doing it, but whatever they did, a bunch of them had to pay that shit back. That shit I did, we never had to pay it. Never had to pay. So I don't know what my friend did, but them niggas, they got busted. They got in trouble, had to pay that shit back. So that never happened to me. But yeah, what I was saying is, don't let spirituality ever make it seem like you owe it. Or you're karma's going to get you because you don't do a practice, or like Christians or Catholics, you don't go to mass, or Muslim, you don't pray, and then karma. No, it's not like that. When you follow your own spiritual path, you make the rules as you go by. So you make the rules. You see what works for you. You see how you manifest. Like I started talking about how you probe things. You see what works for you. That's why I say, when you look at magic and how you really do magic and be successful with magic is you don't try to just abracadabra something big. It don't work like that. You try to manifest something smaller. It ain't just poof out of nowhere. You put a little more effort in it and you try small. It's like whatever that show on Netflix was, the dude who could go back in time. He went back thousands of years. And what did the dude tell him? You made a mistake. You only got to go back a few seconds. You master that first. You master going back a few seconds in time before you master going back thousands of years, because you got to learn how to do it. So you do it at your own pace, I guess is my point. And that's how you have to take it. It's like, if you're your own spiritual master, who's going to punish you but you? Because there's no one can tell you your path as far as the spiritual side. It's something that you have to experience. Do you recommend any books on learning magic? I show this as Skinner's book, but Skinner has several books. It's Practical Angel Magic of Dr. D's, Lucian Tablets, Keys to the Gateway of Magic, Summoning the Archangels, the Goetia. That's another one. The Veritable Keys of Solomon by Skinner. The Grimoires of I don't know how to say his name. Magical Treatises of Solomon. He even does Fu Sheng. Now, the cool thing about this book is this is probably an easy one, and Skinner has his own version. This one is not by Skinner. This one is by Sibley, Hockley, and Peterson. Ebenezer Sibley and Frederick Hockley. And this already has the tablets in here for you. Or like I show days of the weeks. This gives you days, and this gives you the numbers and everything already in it. That's the good thing about this book. You don't have to, to manifest, and if you want to use one of these, you don't have to create this. It's already created for you. So that's about my I guess I don't know. Trying to think what else would be under magic that I have offhand, because it's kind of hard to say. So, but those are a couple that are, but the Goetias is another one to see if that's something that, the tarot cards is another thing. That's a practice in magic. Trying to see what's near me. Oh, right in the cat food. Better that than the damn. Okay. So those are a couple. Your thoughts on preachers? Are they all crooks? Well, I'll say this. I ain't gonna say they all crooks, but it's a business. The Baptist, Pentecostal, the churches are a business. They're a business, and so it is not really a spiritual system. Religion is not spiritual, basically. It's not really spiritual. It don't teach you how to be spiritual. It teaches you how to follow. It teaches you how to believe. And both Islam, well, all of them, Islam, Catholics, Christians, Jewish faith people is blind belief. All of them, blind belief. And they're all really one. If you study them, I mean, you read a Bible, why is the Jewish faith history in the Bible? Well, the people that wrote the New Testament wanted to jam everything together. They wanted to show how Adam was related to Jesus to continue the lie. So it's all about blind belief. It's not about spirituality. And so it's a system of control. It's a system to make you believe outside of yourself. Spirituality is you believing in yourself. That you believe in the force in you. You believe in what you manifest, what spiritual system can come out of you. So you don't put anything above you. You put you. You put that the energy comes from you instead of outside of you. And so there's no blind belief in it, in spirituality. There's no blind belief. You go from believing to knowing. So, oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Religion is man-made. Well, yeah, it goes back to men create gods, and then you worship the God that you created. That's what really, you have a nice you have a nice majority that are yeah. He's saying you have a majority of people that are crooked. Yeah, but it's a business. And I mean, it's even a thing where people, the gluttony of the preacher driving the Cadillac, and the preacher having a big house. It's like, look at what we can do for our preacher. We provide enough where he can look like this and live like that. We proud that he look like that. We proud that he can take a jet. We proud to see him at other churches. I mean, that is how backward it is with people. That they think that they benefit from making somebody else look good. That it's something to be proud of, that you're maintaining this life for someone other than your family. So, Anise, thank you for joining. That's why back in the day, the man would be sitting in making sure that the preacher told the congregation what he wanted him to say. Yeah. Well, they couldn't even meet, they had to be there. Whoops, sorry. Welcome, Anise. Nikki Lowe. Oh, they're pushing the transformer agenda a lot more. Oh, I might make a video the next time I see the one that says support trans children. That commercial has to be a national commercial that says support trans children. And that is, again, what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to set up sports for trans people. That's only fair. You set up sports for trans people, so you have men that's transitioning into women, let them compete against each other, and you have women that's transitioning to men, let them compete against each other. That's the only way it's going to be even or fair. It's no way what we just witnessed, and they allowed that man, and the rest, when they said he came in last and he lost those other two races, he lost those races on purpose. He lost them on purpose. Now, the other races he lost had to be his specialty, so he lost those on purpose. Because they said he lost two races. He lost those on purpose. You know that. Again, he should not be competing against women. It's like saying women can play against the dudes. As I know, Brittany Griner was a little boy that the dad saw couldn't compete against boys. So he raised that person as a girl. And it could compete against girls. And still, it only won one championship. And that shit she did, or he did, whatever, had to be some of the stupidest shit in the world. I mean, really? It makes you wonder, was it really real? I mean, it just makes you wonder if that's real. You ever notice that black conservatives have a starting kit where they do videos, the live streams, American flag in the background, trucker hat on, like they wear glasses. Yeah, that's why I was getting on ABL, wearing them cheap ass polo shirts. But yeah, it's kind of it seems like it's almost what, like Malcolm X said, you love the master, is we sick. It almost comes off like that, like, we sick, like he loves them more than he loves himself. It almost comes off like that, like he loves them and what they've created more than he loves himself. That's kind of how I get it sometimes. Now I like the practical aspect of him sometimes, and at other times it just makes me wonder: is he a real person too? You know, is that a real person? I wonder that as well. But yeah, it's just too much. It's like you just can't see him just being smooth people. It's like over the top. You know, what was it called? Them one sisters that Trump, them two ladies that Trump put on all the time. They got their own show, Diamond and Silk or whatever their name is. They got their own show on Fox. I caught it one day. I was like, well, damn, they got these chicks on. Excuse me. That Vizzy commercial with all the Transformer on the lead during the March Madness this past weekend. Yeah. I think one of the better videos I ever did was I caught that commercial of the WNBA. And this was maybe 4 seasons ago. Well, my channel's been on for a year, so maybe 3 seasons ago, it was a WNBA commercial. And I mean, it showed how they all look like dudes. Like Sue Bird been in all these commercials lately. And, her shit is kind of like it caught it because it was a picture of her and she had the bun on top and her shit was like back here like Snoop Dogg, but it showed all of them where you was like, ooh, these is all dudes. And I even look at Candace Parker. Now she's living with a woman, but she supposedly had a child by that dude who looked like the 7-footer. He looked like a 7-footer with Down syndrome. The dude who went to Duke that was coaching. That Williams dude, she had a baby by, so-called baby by. But if you look at her, big feet like a man, big hands, big feet. Look at her shoulders. Look at, from here to here. I don't know. It's kind of like, I don't know. I even look at her. Because she had a brother, too. I can't remember her brother's name. But yeah, a lot of people don't notice. Morning. Tax season, had a good night. Okay, good. I hear my son arguing about video games. Brittany Gerd, you peep Brittany Griner jersey 42. Of course, they can't wait to get that in. That's why Kobe went from 8 to 24. It's the same thing. But look at it in history, going back to Connie Hawkins. I think the only time I didn't see him wear 42 was when he was in high school at Boys High in New York. I think he wore number 5. But look at how they got Kareem. Kareem had that Masons on him in high school as a freshman. They stuck that 33 on him, and he never wore anything different. I think Wilt Chamberlain at Kansas wore number 5 before he wore number 13 in the NBA. I think he only wore 13 in the NBA. But Nate Thurman, 24, Paul Warfield, 42, Spencer Haywood, 24. See as the numbers come. Bad News Barnes, Marvin Barnes, 24. I mean, if you look through history, the names go on and on and on and on and on and on. Mel Farr played with Detroit Lions. Mel Farr, superstar, 24, out of UCLA. He had a brother that played. Mel and Miller Farr both played in the NFL as brothers, just like Mike Garrett and Card Garrett both played. Walter Payton and Eddie Payton both played, brothers that played. But I say that Walter Payton wore the 34-43. You know, Larry Brown. Yeah, Larry Brown wore that too. Larry Brown wore the 43. Walter Payton wore the 34. Hakeem wore 34. But I mean, you see the same people, you know, the same numbers over and over again. Yeah. Yeah, Kareem wore 33 as Lou Alcindor. He wore 33 at Powell Memorial. He went to Powell Memorial. But he wore 33 from Powell Memorial to UCLA. So you think it was going to be any other way when he went to UCLA? He never wore a different number. Now, Magic, let me get this right. Magic as a freshman, Magic wore 32 in high school, which is the Dr. J or Jim Brown. You know, Jim Brown wore 32. So you see Jordan wore 23, which is the reverse. And so Magic wore 33 at Michigan State, which is Kareem. But you see, he went back to the Jim Brown when he got in the NBA. Because Kelser wore 32 at Michigan State. When Magic was a freshman, Kelser was there. He was a couple years ahead of Magic. Mel Farr had a car dealership back in the day, and he had devices put on the cars. You didn't pay, they could stop the car. Yeah, but he got the shit suit out of him, and plus he went to jail for fraud, but he got the shit suit out of him for that. Because, you know, some people was on the highway, and they stopped some of them cars on the highway, and some people damn near got killed. But yeah, he had them cutoff switches, because it was like he was financing the cars. And so the guarantee, so if you did not pay your car payment, they had a kill switch on there. But what happened was he killed some cars while they was on the highway, and some people almost got killed. So yeah, that wasn't very safe to do, but that's what he did. It was like, if you didn't make your car payment, and I guess the premise was, that they would try to kill it before you started it. But unfortunately, it was some accidents caused because he would kill it while the people was driving. So they didn't have all the bugs. But yeah, Mel Farr, superstar. I still remember them commercials. Mel Farr, superstar. They had him, you know, with 24 on, like he was flying, like he had a cape on with a suit on. You know, he had the Mason suit on, and he's like flying in the commercial, and it was Mel Farr, superstar. Yeah. I was talking about my ex-teammate. You know, he's living in Detroit now. I was talking about all the ex-Lions, and like he ran into Dave Bing, you know. But yeah, Mel Farr, superstar. And he went to prison. Mel Farr went to prison for fraud and money laundering, I think. Yeah, fraud and money laundering. But yep, that sure was. He must have read my mind, because I was about to tell that next about Mel Farr. So you must have read my mind, because that sure was about to come next. How long I've been going? Oh shit, almost 2 hours. Damn. Well, I'm gonna have to cut this. Well, I guess it ain't very short. I'll read off the divination. And this is day 20. So rest of the day is day 20, which is Aha, which the Mayan usage is Lord, ruler, or flower. Qualities are union, wholeness, unconditional love, solar mastery, cosmic consciousness, language of life, ecstasy, limitless bliss, crown, solar logos. Symbol, sun, dove, crown chakra. The number is 20, or you could even look at it 0 day. The color is gold. Herb is passion flower. Flower is sunflower. Flower essence is passion flower. Scent is amber resin. Stones are amber, golden topaz, seer stone, yellow sapphire, and diamond. It's a fire element. Directions out of the south. The shadow wisdom is limiting definitions of self, and the divine loving conditionally with expectations and judgment, issues of ideas and identification. Shadow transformation, being love's presence sets you free. Examine your concept of self and divinity. Practice the art of acceptance and allowance to order to embody unconditional love. The harmonic wisdom is harmonic overtones. Mantra, let me see. palm facing forward, shoulder width apart until hand forms a triangle. So it's here, and then you rotate here. Oh, I guess that's all it's saying. Then rotate palms outward. So palms here, rotate palms out, opening arms to radiate consciousness. So I guess it's like this. Yeah. Meditation. The same golden bird that dwells in the human heart dwells in the sun. Affirmation. I am a child of the light, crowned with self-authority and transparency of the divine child I know to be true. And so, if you need to manifest, get a little push coming from the south. 2 hours didn't seem like it. Yeah, it's an hour and 41 minutes, it says. So, yeah, I ain't got a whole lot to do. It's just I'm getting tired. That's all. Thoughts ain't coming as crisp as they should. But yeah, if you want to manifest tomorrow, the color is gold. That gives you a little bit. Yeah, and I was gonna start practicing the mantras too, because it's kind of cool. I mean, it's that's when you see Doctor Strange, that's what they're doing. That's how Doctor Strange is able to well, like I was showing. See, like as I was showing these in the Clavis Keys to the Solomon Magic, like what you see is Doctor Strange creating something like that. If you really follow what he's doing, he's creating something like that. And so in creating something like that, he's able to manifest, and he's able to do the spell by just using the mantra of this, the hand gestures to bring up the energy. Oh, I did have one more story. Yes, I do have one more story. Let me find this shit. And this would be, who are they fucking with in Prior Lake? And let me show you who they're fucking with down here. Ah, here it is. Here it is. Now, this one motherfucker, and I'll show this motherfucker's face. This motherfucker, the Shakopee man, has been charged with possession of pornography involving minors after investigators allegedly found thousands of images and hundreds of videos depicting juvenile engaged in sexual acts. This dude was 39 years old. He is charged with 11 counts of possession of pornographic work involving minors. But just listen to this. He was released without bond, provided that he meets several guidelines, including not leaving Minnesota without written approval and no contact with people under 18 years old. They let this motherfucker out. They found 8,800 images and 456 videos of works involving minors. Isn't that some shit? Now, that ain't the main reason. Woman sentenced 27 months for aiding son's father. And let me try to, so what happened was this woman and her son killed her husband, okay? But they killed the husband and they took him from Minnesota down here by where I live. They took his ass to a resort area, not really resort, but some like by the lake up in Wisconsin. So they found an isolated place and they buried his ass. And the only thing that caught them was a dog found the dude's skull. And the dog found the skull and left the skull on their front yard. But this chick and her son, the son beat his head in with a hammer. and she got 27 months for helping her son. It says the judge cited that the lady was not involved in the murder itself, while she didn't get any serious charges, but her son basically, let me see. The son pleaded guilty, aiding and abetting. Offender accomplice with the fact as part of a plea deal dismissed the felony charges. So her son basically hit this fucker in the head with a hammer. They stuck his body in a boat and then they buried him. They drove the boat and his body in the boat. They killed him. They wrapped him up in a rug, put him in the boat, and then took the boat from here to Wisconsin, which could be like less than 2 hours in some spots. So they said, of course, that he was emotional. He abused most of them. Let me see where it gets. So yeah, in a 15-acre wooded residential area in Wisconsin. So it's quite a ways from us. And for 2 years they didn't know who he was, and then the DNA finally came and found that it was him. And so they learned that he had been missing since 2013. But they didn't so he had been missing since 2013, but they didn't fill out the report. The family didn't fill out the wife and the son didn't fill out the report for almost a year. So they said that he left in he left in 13 and never returned home. They said that cash was missing and a gun was missing. And so they found him after all those years. So they killed him in 2013 and they got away with it until just recently. And she got 27 months. Her son doesn't really say. Yeah, so that's who they fucking with in Prior Lake. So crazier things could happen. Ain't that crazy? But yeah. The dude with the porno shit that's really crazy. I don't get that shit. Like, why would you need all those pictures? I just, and that's, when we talk about sex slaves and stuff, so often children are used in them situations. There was a made-for-television TV show, and it was just a one-time show, but it was this story of this little boy that was kidnapped by this man, and this man had this little boy smoking, had the boy involved in threesomes, and this was some shit that was on TV when I was younger. Now, I was probably adult. I probably didn't see this as a child, but it was like, this was some TV stuff. And it was like the man would be up with a woman, like messing around. And then they called a little boy, and the little boy would try to ignore him. And they showed the little boy smoking a cigarette. And then he'd have to put the cigarette out and go join him in bed. But it's like, I don't know if that kind of show would be allowed today, but that was a show that was on regular TV back in probably the late 80s. I don't know. I can't remember. But yeah. So yeah. Hard to imagine. Well, moral to everybody. It all started with a gentle sadness. They came from their original homeland, and they knew that they had an exact number of years and days before they would disappear off the earth as a culture and a lifestyle. But the civilization would build to a gentle love. They lived in the Creator's day and knew how to separate cycles in the Great Serpent. And to all my chocolate mountaineers, to all my relatives, to all my family, all my friends, remember, I am your reflection. I am another yourself. So treat me as you would treat yourself, and then rest well in your spiritual creation ball field as you slumber. Your bed ain't a casket. That's what they want you to believe. That's why you shouldn't, like them sleigh beds and shit where you got shit and that's a casket. I don't know if people realize that. You should not have anything at the end. Your bed should not have, I mean, if you have that, that's fine. But I'm saying it's more like a casket when you have a footstool or foot stand or like a sleigh bed. You know how the sleigh bed has the headboard and the footboard? Really shouldn't have footboards. You can look that spirituality up, but that makes the bed more like a casket. So you might want to stay away from that kind of thing. But again, look it up. Look it up. Well, everyone, thank you for joining the Chocolate Mountain Show. You know, I am your host, Big Pontiac, coming at you. I didn't know I had to get you. And I just want to thank everybody that joined me tonight. Thanked everybody that came this afternoon. And I'm going to try to see again if I can get Pomatic. Because Pomatic, I'm going to try to see if I can get him to come again because he's deep. He's deep. Maybe I didn't send the link or he didn't get the link or couldn't get on, but that's cool. But he's deep. He's very deep. And so hopefully I can get him to come on. Brother out of Chicago. Definitely want to go to Chicago just to do it live with him. And so hope to get him on maybe next time. So this has been the Chocolate Mountain Show. Till we meet again, say less.